Hey there YouTube, welcome back to another repair by Chad Fixes All, and in this video we're going to be replacing the rear shocks on this 2010 Nissan Altima. I will have the shocks in the description of this video so that way you can purchase them. But yes, we're going to be doing the rear shocks because we just did their front struts and might as well just do all of them at the same time. I will also have the link to the front strut video as well in the description. But enough talking, and let's go ahead and start working on this repair by jacking it up and taking off the rear tire. So go ahead and break the lug nuts loose on the rear tire, and we'll go ahead and slide the jack stands underneath and get it safely up in the air. And then we'll go ahead and use our impact gun to remove the lug nuts the rest of the way. Subtle kick and take it off. So this is the rear shock here. It's held on by one bolt down to the bottom. And that's going to be it right there. So I went ahead and sprayed the left side where the nut is. And I took my breaker bar on the right side on the actual bolt. And I'm breaking it loose that way. After I break it loose with my breaker bar, I'm just going to hit my ratchet onto it, and we'll take it out the rest of the way. I had to use a pry bar to peck it out. But after the bolt does come out, you'll watch the shock come up a little bit. Now, where it fastens to the top, we look up. You're going to see these two nuts holding on to the bolts, and that's actually what's holding the shock onto the actual vehicle. I went ahead and already sprayed those with liquid wrench, and we'll go ahead and get up in there and we'll take those off. There's one out. Taking this one out, we'll have the shock come down with it, and then we'll just go ahead and maneuver the shock out of the car. Now with the shock out on the ground, you can see that there's this rubber cap on top of it, which will open up where we can actually get the bolts, or where we can get the nut off of the shock. Taking our ratchet and our socket, we're just try to break it loose. Unfortunately, when we were trying to break it loose with just that, the shock was spinning in the shock tube. So we're just going to grab a pair of vice grips, since this is the old one. We're just going to clamp it onto the actual shock. And then we'll go ahead and put our socket on there, and we'll buzz that off of there. Now, I like to take everything off exactly the way it came off and put it in that order, so that way I don't have to second guess if I'm putting it on the correct way. So, taking everything out, putting it in order on top of each other, so that way it'll be easy install when I go to put it back. And it fell over. But that's the orientation. Then we'll go ahead and take off that rubber sleeve and take my vice grips off the old one. So these are the shocks that I went ahead and got. They're from Detroit Axle. It actually came as a strut shock kit, but these are the shocks that were in the kit. Again, I'll have them linked down in the description. Also, the hardware came with the shocks, so that way I'll get all new hardware installed as well. So we'll go ahead and cut the shipping band and take off this little cap to cover the threads. So the first thing I want to do is slide over that sleeve. Take that cap, put it over top of the sleeve. And our new hardware kit is right here in this baggie. So I'm going to open it up and so first thing to go on is that rubber, and then also put that steel sleeve inside of it. And it's going to be the cap that actually fastens it to the car. And then another rubber. And then we got a washer that goes on top of that. And then we have the nut. I believe it is a nylon locking nut. I'll go ahead and try to zip this down a little bit, but it's not going to. But on the outside of it, there is a spot to put either a very small socket on it, or in my case, I'm just going to use the vice grips that will just hold just as well. And then I'm going to use a ratchet wrench to actually thread the nut onto the shock. And I'm just going to go ahead and tighten that down until I feel like it's tight enough. Take my vice grips off, and now we have our strut reassembled and ready to go back into the car. Don't forget to put on that rubber cap. Put that bracket into the bolt holes. And start threading the nuts onto the bolts. We're going to take our impact gun, just shoot them up a little bit, just get us started, and we'll hit the other side again. And then we'll tighten up the other side one more time. Down on the bottom, you might have to pull the shock down a little bit to meet with the bolt hole. And then once it's aligned, you can go ahead and thread in that bolt and zip it in. And then I'm going to go ahead and torque it down. And get my socket back off. Now that shock is fully installed and we can put that wheel back on the vehicle. Going to put on the lug nuts with my fingers first so that way I don't cross thread any of them. I would always recommend that on any vehicle that you work on. Go ahead and shoot them in with the gun. Now with the lug nuts all put on, we can go ahead and let the vehicle back down off the jack stands. Now just a reminder, I do have these links down in the description. I also have done these struts on this vehicle as well, so you might want to check out that video as well. I will have it linked at the end of this and in the description as well. And then also, why don't you go ahead and scroll down and put a like on this video if this helped you out at all. Also think about subscribing to my channel. I do a lot of repair videos, also some other videos that are like rebuilds and classic car type things. So anything like that will really help me out, and thanks for watching.